Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Starring Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga, Rory O'Connor, Sarah Catherine Hook, and Julian Hillard, and directed by Michael Chavez. Now, before I get into what I experienced with the movie and the review, yes, I did do A Quiet Place before in Halloween in 2017, or actually take that back, 2018. And then yes, I did do The Conjuring before I ever did Annabelle Creation, and have done The Nun and The Curse of La Llorona and Annabelle Comes Home. And now, and yes, I've done those reviews. In case if anybody's wondering, where are the originals? Which I did do them. They're just, you have to look. It's got a long resume, so you might want to look on the originals first, like oldest first, I'll say. So, what do I think of the movie? Well, let me before I get there. I did see the movie twice on HBO Max. I didn't go to theaters for this. I went to HBO Max, and I started it off at midnight, and I fell asleep. I'll tell you when I get there, but I watched it again the second time, and we'll see how this goes. I am quite curious on how this goes, so let's get into it. In 1981, Ed and Lorraine Warren, returned by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, perform an exorcism of David Glatzel, played by Julian Hilliard, while his sister Debbie, played by Sarah and Catherine Hook, and her boyfriend Arnie Sheehan Johnson, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, please forgive me, played by Rory O'Connor, is there, and Ed and Lorraine perform an exorcism with Father Gordon being present eventually as he arrives at the house, like the same way Max von Sydow's character arrived in the original Exorcist. While David is being terrorized by a demon himself and stabs his father in the foot, or in the leg, excuse me, as they perform this exorcism on the table in the living room, and Arnie tells the demon instead of taking his body to take his own life, as Ed witnesses it, which has got to be the stupidest fucking opening I've ever seen not only a horror film, but a Conjuring film, as director Michael Chavez has made this kind of movie before with The Curse of La Llorona, but this time it's more bland than funny, in my opinion, because I found The Curse of La Llorona to be funny, whereas this one I find bland. Ed gets hospitalized and becomes a cripple after the first 10 minutes of the film, and I thought, what the fuck am I watching here? As after part 2, I'm now dreading this movie. But after Annabelle Comes Home, I want to see a little more of the Warrens, and now I'm thinking, as this is the best, is this the best you can do? Arnie talks to Debbie about moving away from the town of Connecticut to live with her after she just started her job, as they live with her boss Bruce rent free with her family. And honestly, I don't like these characters, including the Warrens, which is a shame because Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga have chemistry together, but unfortunately they're bad in this thing. Meanwhile, Arnie witnesses the devil inside his body early, and often as we learn how Ed and Lorraine met for the first time, as she was going to the movies with her girlfriends, while Ed was working as an usher at the movie theater called the Alamo, which isn't actually a movie theater, believe it or not. Which is the only scene I liked in this whole movie, as the next scene, Arnie tries to turn on a chainsaw while up at a tree, as he almost killed someone, as he's sent home and comes home with Bruno drunk and listening to loud music. It makes Arnie drink some beer while Lorraine tries to call to warn them that the devil has Arnie while he's pale looking and sick. And Lorraine warns the sheriff's department something terrible is going to happen, and Arnie sees some demonic forces and accidentally kills Bruno, and a deputy stops Arnie from walking and sees a ton of blood on his shirt and says to the deputy, I think I hurt someone. And after that, I thought, yeah, no shit. Arnie is arrested and taken to court with his lawyer, Debbie, and the Warrens, he's tested as not possessed. And this is not scaring me as much as the first two at all. It's more making me saying what the fuck way too often, to the point it's unfulfilling. Ed and Lorraine meet with Arnie's lawyer and makes a deal with her, and that is getting evidence at the Warrens' house of their successful work, or they'll drop from being present at the court. And I'm bored so badly it's not that funny. We pick up 5 months before the movie begins. Arnie, Debbie, and David move into the house with Bruno, and David gets the room with the waterbed, as the waterbed has a demon inside and pokes its head like Freddy Krueger in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and makes a hole on the waterbed and takes over David's body after being in the room for a few minutes, which makes no goddamn sense, as the devil's work makes no goddamn sense. Lorraine goes in the basement and spots from where the water bed is a demonic thing that I swear to God looks like a moth from the poster of The Silence of the Lambs, which I'm going to review later this year for Halloween. And she learns after taking pictures of it that the family is cursed, as Father Gordon brings up Father Kasner, who's retired from being a priest, and Ed and Lorraine visit him after she took some photos of the demonic object and shows it to him and shows them the demonic things in his basement. And I couldn't tell you a damn thing he said because I was getting bored and didn't care what the hell was happening at this point. Arnie mops the hospital room while at night and sees some demons while picking up the mop from dropping it, as a dead Bruno rises up and says he knows who he is, as more demons attack in his imagination. And now I'm officially tired of movies about the devil. Ed and Lorraine solve another case with some demonic possession, as Arnie named Jessica Strong, who's still missing, as they go in the woods of Massachusetts. And Lorraine follows the tracks and where Jessica was walking, and she almost falls down after finding where she fell at, and almost does fall down, but Ed grabs her safely, or to safety I should say, as she tells a cop she fell in the river. As she tells them is that Jessica's in the river, as the cops get her body out of the water, while Arnie is acting funny while being visited by Debbie and David. And I can't believe this is all going all over the fucking place while connecting with Arnie. It made no sense, and nothing scary is happening, while Lorraine was in the vision in the dark, and the acting is pretty damn bad. Just Jesus. Debbie calls the Warrens and tells them Arnie is told to kill himself by the devil, and they suggest getting Father Newman to help out secure Arnie from killing himself, and an inmate gives Arnie a knife to kill himself, as a prison guard sees him doing so while protecting himself in holy water, which didn't make much sense either for the devil to tell his victim to kill himself. For what reason? I don't fucking know, and honestly, I don't fucking care. I mean, goddamn, this movie makes me so fucking angry. Like, why does it need to exist other than for money reasons? While the movie is still going, Lorraine is having a vision of being some demon, as she's controlling someone to go after Lorraine herself, as the demon knows who she is when they get back home. And they visit Debbie. Drew, who was in the first film, confronts her and tells Ed and Lorraine about how it's targeting David, Arnie, and Jessica, as Ed faints and wakes up, and the female demon, and it gets the same demon that attacked Lorraine, but it attacks Ed as he wakes up and wants to fight the demon after he was asleep. And they learned some flowers are possessed in a vase as Ed drops the vase and finds the sign of a demonic thing, as it's the same thing as the poster of Silence of the Lambs. The next night, Debbie joins Arnie and Father Newman trying to save him, while Lorraine goes to Father Kasner and shows Lorraine goes back to Father Kasner's house and shows him his office and finds out Father Kasner had a dead daughter, Isabel, which happens to be the demon in this movie, who was cursed as the demon, arriving, and he hides her somewhere safe, and she kills Father Kasner, which I knew was coming, as I know this bullshit works in general, how this bullshit works in general, and Ed and Drew finds out something horrible is about to happen and tells Drew to call the police, and while Ed leaves Drew as Ed goes to Father Kasner's house, this is the point when I fell asleep on my first viewing, because this movie is so goddamn bland. Lorraine finds a tomb, and Isabella comes in as Ed arrives, and I'm checked out of this movie at this point because, again, I fell asleep during this time, during the final half hour of the movie, as Lorraine is encountered by Isabel with a knife while trying to kill Lorraine as she punches her in the face, while Ed finds Lorraine disguised as Isabel blows some dirt in his eyes, and Isabel lights up candles as Ed attacks Lorraine, and Ed does think about their first date as he still remembers how much he loves Lorraine, and breaks the curse as he's himself again, and Isabel is condemned back to hell, and Ed and Lorraine get out of under the house and ground. Arnie becomes cursed as the exorcism begins, is breaking bones all over the place and acts like a demon, and has a glass as a knife and almost kills himself, but he eventually falls down, and Arnie becomes normal again, which thank God at this point, because I was done with the movie at this point. I woke up then, and Ed puts the demonic object in their evidence case as Arnie goes to prison for 5 years and married Debbie while still in prison, and Ed and Lorraine relived their first date, and the climax made me sleepy as I was I was ready to turn this damn thing off. And remember, I saw it on G.B.M.H, not in the movie theaters. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 1.6 out of 10. Is this the best Michael Chavez can do? Because after this and The Curse of La Llorona, I don't think this guy can do good with horror of the series, for that matter. The acting is terrible, as I don't like the characters, including Ed and Lorraine Warren, and it's a shame because Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga have chemistry, but unfortunately not enough to make this movie good. The film makes me so angry as I fell asleep at the last 20 minutes of the film, as this left me asking what the fuck so often, as it was so unfulfilling. If they plan on making another one for the love of God, get a different director, and don't hire Michael Chavez, and for the love of God, stay the fuck away from this movie. I mean, seriously, this movie is so fucking bad. So, I would like to thank you guys for joining me for The Conjuring again, and until we ever get another one, may God have mercy on your soul.